Good morning, good mid-morning to Cleveland, Ohio, and everybody else nationwide. This is Larry H. Gardner of VoiceOfRadio.com, Headlines and Eggs, and also the Headline Eye, WNRV 108.1.com, Nerve DJs Network, where we get on your nerves. Today I am doing a special interview. Today is the CEO and founder of Digital C, Mr. Joshua Edmonds. And we're going to talk about the impact that this young man is making on the city. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to, you will not see my face anymore. I am going to turn this over to Mr. Edmonds, and I'm going to ask him some questions. And guys, please pay attention. And if you have any questions, just put them into the comments section of my Facebook. I will share this on all digital platforms, including the other ones that I've had and everything else like that. So, first of all, let me turn it over to Joshua. How are you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm all right. You know, we had our summer days, and now those are gone. Back to winter again.
Right.
But we're all right.
We had a one good warm year yesterday.
Yep.
So other than that, yeah, we had that. So the question is like, how did you start? How did you start Digital C?
So I became CEO of Digital C in November of 2022. Mm-hmm. So we're actually approaching our 10-year anniversary.
Okay.
So Digital C was founded on the basic premise of how do we connect the unconnected as it relates to this digital divide. People have access to technology, people who don't. Mm-hmm. People who have internet access, people who have a computer at home, those who don't. This digital divide is something that we've been seeking to impact for a decade now, and thankfully as of late we've made some very significant progress in bridging Cleveland's digital divide.
Okay. So and by the way, the documentary was wonderful, by the way. I like to say.
Thank you.
So one thing is that we have something called, you mentioned the term digital redlining. Can you explain that further?
Yes, absolutely. So the concept of redlining, when the banks specifically drew red lines where they would invest in communities and where they wouldn't, and where essentially black and brown people could live and where they couldn't. Mm-hmm. Now, those same red lines where we see opportunity, whether it's workforce, education, well-being, food deserts, this is something that you can still see the effects of those red lines all throughout the city of Cleveland and all throughout America. And so digital redlining follow those same red lines, where larger telecom companies would specifically invest in certain communities, giving them better access than others. Mm-hmm. And so what Digital C became, we called ourselves a greenlining company. We said where they drew those red lines, we're going to draw green lines of opportunity, mm-hmm. or we're going to plant seeds of growth. And so this internet access now shouldn't be something where the people in the suburbs have better internet access than those in Cleveland. It should be that there's a level playing field across the board.
Okay. So the thing about it is that there's been some reports. First of all, before we get into that, as far as City Council, what's Digital C's vision? What's the challenge?
Look, our big thing is like this pervasive digital divide. Since 2014, Cleveland has been ranked by the American Community Survey, upheld by the National Digital Inclusion Alliance as the least connected city in America. Mm. And so what that means is residents in this city, almost a third of us, don't have access to adequate high-speed internet. We don't have computers. We don't have the appropriate digital training or skilling or know-how to navigate the digital world. All that compounded together, that's what we're seeking to eradicate. And again, we've made significant progress thus far. But again, since 2014, one of the least connected cities in America. And so to do the work that we're doing here, it's not flashy. It's impactful because as we're looking at the future, we need to make sure that our kids, our families, our seniors, that everybody is connected to this information and opportunity that the internet and technology broadly presents.
All right, so the thing about it is like there was a little issue with City Hall, as we saw in the documentary. Mm-hmm. The thing about it is like City Hall has said that you have fallen short of your goals. So can you explain the deal with the City of Cleveland and Digital City?
Yeah, so we signed a contract through the American Rescue Plan Act And we brought matching funding with us. So we brought $30 million of funding that we were able to raise, thankfully from our foundations as well as the state of Ohio. And the city had $20 million that they then added to this pot, so $50 million in total to build out this network and provide training. The first year, we said we would train 7,500 residents. We trained 7,600, so we exceeded that one. Mm-hmm. We also said that we would have, from a coverage standpoint, 75,000 homes covered. We had 82,000 in the first year, so we exceeded that goal. The third goal was that we would connect 3,500 households in the first year. We connected 2,802, which is about 20% short. And the reason why we were 20% short didn't have anything to do with our technology. It was largely for the fact that we applied for a permit from City Hall July of 2023, and we didn't, and to be able to knock on doors, and we didn't get the approval until September of 2024. So it took over a year for us to be able to knock on doors.
How long usually permits don't take that long from the city, correct?
Well, for us it did, and so when we had that part, the minute we got the approval from City Hall to do the door knocking, we saw a 150% increase in our customer growth, because this is a city of relationships. The ability to go out and knock on doors and build relationships with our neighbors, with the residents that we're serving, our potential customers. The minute City Council unlocked our hands and allowed us to do that, that's when we saw the growth. So while we might have fallen short from a number standpoint, the minute they enacted the power for us to knock on those doors, that's when we were able to see the biggest growth. So imagine if we started the year with that permit versus getting that in the last quarter.
You would have exceeded your goal.
Absolutely.
So with City Council, what type of pushback have you been getting from them?
I would say that this is something, what we're doing here hasn't been done anywhere. Mm-hmm. And Cleveland, as much as we are the worst in so many categories, we're not the first in a lot of categories. And so the skepticism that they have when we're actually showing up as the first city in America to build a network of our size with the speed, with the quality, with the affordability, this is a blueprint for America to follow. And so sometimes it's confusing when we see all the great work that we're doing, all the families that we're empowering who didn't really have a choice. Now we're connecting them to the digital world. And instead of getting, hey, great job, way to move the needle, way to empower our families, what we're getting is skepticism. Mm-hmm. We're getting, there's no way. There's no way you guys are, and there's something fishy about this. We're getting that. And I said, man, Cleveland, why are we getting in our own way? We're winning. In Biden's Infrastructure and Jobs Act, there was billions of dollars that were allocated to broadband. Not a single network in any of these cities got stood up except for Cleveland. We're the only one with this, and yet Cleveland is getting in its own way by trying to tear down, by trying to dissect, by trying to speak ill of, when that's not the case. That's not what we should be doing. We should be lifting up progress that's made, and for any area where we're deficient, we as a community collectively need to be working together and not penalizing.
All right, so we went over the permit. So you said the permit, you were supposed to get that. When were you supposed to get the permit, the timeline for the permit?
So we applied for the permit in July of 2023.
Uh-huh. And you didn't get the permit until?
September of 2024.
So pretty much a year and a couple of months to even start knocking on doors to sign people up for this broadband service.
That's
correct?
right.
Okay. The question is, how strong is the broadband service? We hear 4G, 5G. How strong is Digital C's?
So we're a completely different animal. So we're not 4G, 5G. We're 6 gigahertz.
Okay.
Which is funny when I say that, because we're like 6 gigahertz. This is going to get a little bit nerdy, but we had to take it there for a second. The Federal Communications Commission in January 2024 greenlit what's called 6 gigahertz spectrum that didn't exist before, and so we are riding this spectrum in the sky that allows us to provide not only 20 gigabits of service that is beaming across this city. We do 100 megabits per second upload and 100 megabits per second download. The reason why that's important, historically in this country, high-speed internet was classified as 25 megabits download and 3 megabits upload. We're doing 100. Now the new standard is 100 megabits download, 50 megabits upload. We do 100.
So you do 100
megabits per second
download and megabits per second upload. So you exceeded the standard that the country said.
That's correct.
Okay.
So and this is something that, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to share this. When you're looking at internet, oftentimes the large companies, they're content companies. They want you to watch their TV. They want you to watch their apps. They want you to download stuff. Upload, they don't talk about. We said, no, we want a Cleveland where people could download and consume, but produce equally. That's why it's an equal 100-100. That doesn't happen. Most internet, you're not going to get that. That's why during the pandemic, when you saw you were on video calls and your screen kept doing this, and you couldn't make the video calls and buffering, it's because your upload speeds are slow, not your download. So when everyone's saying, well, this company gives me 300, what's the upload? Because it's not greater than ours. So if you're a content creator, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a producer, if you're trying to do work from home, if you're trying to do telehealth, you're going to need those upload speeds. And that's where we excel.
Okay. So once you got the permit, you pretty much increased everything. What do you think why do you think there was a pushback by City Hall?
I think that's a better question to ask for them.
Right.
But
what's your opinion? Your opinion?
I would say I don't think that City Hall is fully aligned on the pushback, because just having conversations with a great many of them, the majority of them actually support us. Mm-hmm. I mean, this same legislation, they voted unanimously for Digital C. And so we find that there are people who will pull us aside. Great work. We love the work that you're doing. My residents have it. Even during those utilities meetings, you'll see people saying, hey, we're not getting any complaints. The residents love it. It's affordable. It's a seamless experience. Digital C is the only internet provider headquartered in Cleveland, where Cleveland are supporting Cleveland. Mm-hmm. The dollars staying in our community.
Exactly.
These are all great things. There are others who, again, they'll bring up examples from 2008, 2009, when I was still in high school, and bring up stuff that I'm not really sure what they're getting at there.
Okay.
They're just, I would just say, trying to throw things out and see what sticks. I'm not really sure what that strategy is, but what I can say for the council persons who do support us and for the people in the administration who support us, we appreciate that, because we need that support to grow and scale. What we don't need is when we see the historic pressure that we're making, people keep trying to kick dirt and just muddy this thing up when it doesn't need to be that way. Cleveland gets in Cleveland's own way, and that's exactly what we're seeing here.
Exactly. Meaning, so I'm going to bring up these examples. Councilman Casey and Harsh pushed through an excessive $1 million penalty against Digital C, cutting your budget to the bone. What message does that send to, and how does that impact your ability to deliver on your mission, to deliver the low-cost internet, low-cost service?
It was a massive penalty that we didn't see coming. For us to be 20% short of a goal that they had a lot of power in us achieving that goal, again, with the ability to knock on doors, penalizing us $1 million when realistically how this works, 3,500 customers would have translated to $1.7 million. Mm-hmm. They cut it down to the point that they took $1 million from us, and then it was $700,000. Now, again, we were only 20% short. So at most, the cut should have been we should have got 1.4 million. Mm-hmm. We didn't get that. The rationale was because we have a contract with the school district. So shout out to CMSD. If you have a family within CMSD, the internet is free.
Okay.
And so what they were looking at, they said, well, they're subsidizing the service, so then you don't need council's money. But it's like, yes, we do. And it's not council's money, it's the American Rescue Plan Act. But
the federal money by former President Joe Biden that was, during the pandemic.
And that was earmarked for things like the digital divide.
Right.
For students who are on the wrong side of the digital divide. That's where that came from, because there was a story during the pandemic of these two kids who were at a Taco Bell trying to do their homework because they didn't have at-home Wi-Fi. That story blew up. The American Rescue Plan Act specifically called out supporting internet access for students. So we then did that, and then we got penalized because we connected CMSD families. And so it's like, what city would argue against their own kids? Why would we do that?
Right.
Why are we so backwards in Cleveland? And so I think those are the things that, again, those questions need to be asked continuously. Wouldn't you, look at your future and say, I'm going to give every kid here a chance to compete. I want the next Steve Jobs to come from Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Is the next Steve Jobs going to come from Cleveland if they don't have internet? No. We had to compete digitally. And so we were penalized for connecting CMSD families, and that's where the $1 million penalty came from.
Okay. So now here's another thing I would like to point out as far as that. This is crazy. So my question to you is, as a young African American man, how do you feel that Digital C has impacted young African American families as far as the internet?
You know, this is it's an honor to do this work. It's an honor to do this work representing not only Howard University, representing, you know, my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. It's an honor to be able to align ourselves and be rooted in strong Black institutions. And so when we look at young Black men, young Black families, and the engagement we have with the school district, the engagement we have in these neighborhoods and the communities, it's a symbol of hope. Like, we don't have so many Black male role models who aren't athletes or entertainers.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with being that, but at this time, we're opening the doors of visibility to say representation matters. And if you have a telecom executive right here in your midst, this is an example that someone can aspire to say, man, you know what? I want to own my own network. I want to study network engineering. I want to, again, no shot at the rappers, the basketball players, the content creators. We need all that. But at the same time, we also need people who are building networks and investing in our community and being a symbol of hope and resilience, and not just, again, entertainers.
Exactly. Because we don't have that, pretty much. And so very rarely that we see young men like yourself, African American, in the CEO of a tech company, pretty much. Technology, which is the wave of the future, and everybody uses tech. I'm using tech right now.
That's
so
right.
It's like I'm not even gonna sit like I'm using tech right now. Like, pretty much I'm using, if you can see me, I'm using tech right now. But the thing is that, you know, with everything that, like, with the fines and stuff like that, I'm gonna bring this up. I'm looking right here, that Digital C, you were penalized $500 per CMSD household that signed up. That amounted to $450,000 penalty. How did that affect you guys, and how did that affect CMSD? Cleveland School District, that's CMSD, what it stands for.
Well, I mean, one, any school district, any city in the country would have killed to have the engagement that CMSD has on this digital divide. I have long since said we have the digital divide we deserve. And now it's being reinforced by this. We're the least connected city in America historically because we weren't prioritizing the digital divide. Other cities were doing that, so they shrunk theirs. So what did CMSD do? Their leadership under Warren Morgan said, you know what? We're going to make sure that we earmark dollars and resources to supporting getting our scholars connected, so that way our scholars see a world of opportunity and not a world where they have to be under a ceiling and they don't have aspirations beyond. They can't see beyond. We've exposed them to this digital world. And so to have essentially a negative penalty associated with CMSD, what it did two things. One, it invigorated us because it said, you know what, no, we're going to double down. We're going to ensure that we're connecting these CMSD families, because there's no way we're going to go another year of these families being underconnected, another year of these kids not being exposed to opportunity, no more. And so what it does, the other thing that it did though, is it made things financially incredibly difficult for us. Our internet service is $18 a month. That's 65 cents a day. You penalizing us $1 million when our internet is 65 cents a day? What are the margins here? And this is the thing. You don't just grow a network just by watering it. The engineers that we have to pay, the network operations, the ingenuity, that's a cost. Like, people just don't become a network engineer tomorrow. We don't pay them pennies. We have to compete with all the other big internet service providers. We're competing with them.
Spectrum, of course, you know, you have services they offer, internet service like Spectrum, of course, T-Mobile, Verizon.
The list goes on.
I don't think we have enough time. But it's just but
and this is the only one headquartered in Cleveland, the only black-led one that you can find anywhere. And this is our response. This is how we treat them when they're connecting black and brown and every shade in between of students and families in Cleveland.
How many customers you have so far?
So we're now closing in on close to 4,000 customers, 4,000 households in the city.
4,000.
And we started building this network in January 2024. Mm-hmm. So in less than a year and a half, we've been able to connect almost 4,000 households. In less than a year and a half, we've been able to build a network that by June of this year, the entire city's covered. This has never been done before. This is a precedent that's no city has figured this out. I promise you, and if people don't believe me, Google Baltimore, Google Detroit, Google Philly, Google Memphis, Google San Fran. I don't care what city you Google. Google every single one of them, and please tell me who was able to build another network just like ours. We are the only city in the country that has this infrastructure, and our response to this is embarrassing.
Speaking of other cities, has any other city modeled Digital C here in Cleveland and another one? And how big is this in the tech industry?
So the cities are trying to model. No one has been able to actually get to where we are. Mm-hmm. No one. We are one of none.
Not even Detroit?
Nope. We're the only one.
The cities that you listed, Baltimore, Miami, the West Coast, anybody.
You can name any city. What they might have is they might have a little pilot over here that might connect 200 households or something. No one has stood up what we've stood up. You can look anywhere, and I'm telling you, we are one of none. And so what this does in Cleveland, and this is where I can associate with the artists and the creatives and the entrepreneurs here who feel like they're not getting a shot, and who feel like, man, if I was in any other city, this would blow up. Mm. And I know I
always hear that a lot. I hear that a lot lately. I hear that a lot
because Cleveland gets in its own way. Cleveland continuously gets in its own way, and in the telecom world, Digital C, we're revered. People know us. It's like, man, Digital C's here. The amount of conferences that I've keynoted already, but as soon as we're here, it's like, Digital C. And I'm like, what? Why do we do this to ourselves? In any of these other cities, they're collaborating, they're lifting up, they're investing. And what do we do here? Predictably, tear down, run asunder. Why do we do that here?
It's that old model. I mean, the thing about it is, it's that old model. I do understand. I really actually do understand, because when I first started, it was like, oh, what you doing here now? I am Digital Journalist of the Year, after.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. After 8 years being on, had to close 9 years being on the air, but it is what it is. I will come out of the cold, do stories like this, just because I feel it's important. Mm-hmm. Listen, you said that you said the cost of this service is $18 a month, correct?
That's right.
How much is the installation for a resident or business?
Well, thanks to the Trump tariffs, they're about to be even more. So before we even get to the tariffs, mm-hmm. just purely what we do, it takes two hours to 2.5 hours for us to install at a single family residence. Mm-hmm. We're calibrating, we're configuring, and we're not rushing. So this is the thing I would like to express before I can get into the cost, that when we're doing this work, could we do it faster? Maybe, but we're not here to rush. We believe in this. This is something that I'm like, man, this is purpose-driven work, not profit-driven. All the profit-driven stuff, I'm working on it. And so what? People start cutting corners when they're doing that. Mm-hmm. This is we're investing in these families, these seniors, these kids. We need this internet to work. And so it's 2 hours to 2.5 hours for a single family, maybe about 30 minutes if we're in an apartment building. But we're paying labor. We're paying prevailing wages on that. So these people are getting compensated well. These are union labor that we're paying. So It's like you already got that going on. In addition to that, the radio nodes that we're using and the base nodes that essentially are configuring the network, that's about $600, $700 just for that part alone, before the tariffs. And so this is almost over $1,000, and in a lot of cases actually it's over $1,000 per install at $18 a month. So when someone takes $1 million from us, imagine how that feels for us. We're like, we didn't budget for that. Right. Like we didn't anticipate that. And then now we have tariffs on 25%. on the product inventory that's being shipped because they ship globally. The companies we work with, they're global telecom companies. And so now we're seeing up to $700,000 to $1 million that we're going to pay just in these tariffs alone.
Now in Canada and Mexico, the neighbors to our north and south are hitting back with their own tariffs
And so now what we have locally is we have people who are, again, seeking to penalize, not seeking to uplift, not seeking to help, but seeking to penalize first without even looking at the broader implications on what's happening. It's like, why are we so eager to jump a gun to penalize before we get the facts straight? Why do we do this as a city?
Exactly. Now, another question, how do your prices compare to the other, I know the cable companies are offering internet. The cell phone companies, well, I got 4 or 5G on my phone, or I got this. How does Digital C compare to the other companies that have internet service?
We are by far on price the most competitive option that's ever existed in this market, and most likely ever will exist in this market. $18 a month with a set price that isn't going to go up within 6 months, that we didn't put on 2-point font at the very bottom of a thing where it's like, oh, sign up today for $29.99, and then in 6 months it's going to be $50, and then in a year you're going to be paying $100. Like we don't do that. It's $18 for the next 5 years, and then after 5 years we can only adjust it for inflation. So realistically, for the next decade, people are going to be getting internet for less than $20 a month in Cleveland.
So is that residence or business? Is that the resident price?
That's the resident price.
Okay, what about if you have a business? Is that the same or is it different?
No, so we are still beta testing our businesses. So from a business standpoint, we do have the ability to do that. Our focus per our contract, the 3 items that we agreed to within the contract was residential, coverage, and then training. So the business, that's a separate part of the equation. We took the approach of don't let your plan B distract your plan A.
Right.
So we said let's master the residential side, and then we'll get into the business side. We have the ability to do the businesses, but again, we really want to make sure that our residents are taken care of.
But okay, so as far as the residents, so I'm a content creator. I start my in-home based business, or I work from home.
Yeah.
So
that's still $18.
Okay.
Yep, that's $18.
Okay, that's what I want to clear that up. So it's like, okay, I got to work from home, or I look for like I'm a content creator, getting paid for this. I got to get online. That's 18.
That's right.
Okay. The other thing that is like more disturbing, that it comes up to leadership, and we've seen it on Tuesday. I didn't watch. I was doing my show. I did not watch what was going on. As a young African-American entrepreneur, how do you feel about the current administration?
Presidential or local?
Well, we can presidential. Well, first presidential and local.
Yeah, so we have 4 years of this administration, allegedly. Now, something happens in between, we don't know, but 4 years. The way I'm looking at this 4 years is like, look, we have to find out a plan that works for us. We see where they're going. But the thing is, it's not going to be all abysmal and doom and gloom if we're able to find out the ways that they operate. And what I'm getting at is I can see the proximity of Elon Musk to the president in the White House. And I can also see that Elon Musk runs his own internet company, Starlink. He uses satellite internet. Our internet is superior to his. And so when we begin looking at this opportunity, it's like, well, I think there might be an inroad to someone who actually understands at the highest level how telecom can influence cities. So now for us, there's an opportunity for us to take what's happening in Cleveland and say, Cleveland, you got a crown jewel in Digital C that actually has direct line of sight to the White House. And so I guess I see opportunity. The antics and all the other stuff, I don't get into it anymore. I'm like, now it's just business.
Right.
And from a business standpoint, I see potential opportunity, but I also can see the division and sometimes the short-sightedness. And that short-sightedness, it can hurt us. Right. The tariffs, that hurts us more than it helps us. The freeze on funding that was coming out, that already did irreparable damage to people. Even they said, oh, well, no, we released it. It's like that initial freeze alone, the attack on DEI, you can't be attacking something like that. That's too much progress. That's already too much investment. Corporations made millions of dollars of investment in this, and then within months undid that. We wasted time, we wasted money, intentionality, representation. Like, we're going backwards in some ways. And so I see what the administration is attempting to do, but I think that they could really learn and lean into the value of diversity of thought. And diversity of thought comes from diversity of people. And so DEI is actually good for business, and it's not bad when it's done right.
Mm-hmm. So as far as locally, you've been hit with these fines. How do you proceed going forward? And can the local government be trusted? Some people like the city council people, I know you got those fines, but I know you said that you had support. How do you feel from this point with city government?
Candidly, I'm frustrated. I mean, I don't have to mask that. I'm absolutely frustrated. I am seeking to understand. I endeavor to learn some of the moves that they've made. Part of me still has faith in them. I was raised, to give unto Caesar what's owed to Caesar. Mm-hmm. And so, the respect that they have as elected officials, I'm not really going to speak bad about any elected official ever. As a former public official appointed at the city of Detroit for 4 years, I was appointed. So it's like, I get it. But at the same time, I would wish that they would see that it's friendly fire when you attack us. We're a nonprofit. We are a community organization headquartered off of Huff. Right. Like we are headquartered here. And so it's like when you turn the weapon on us and penalize us, I'm looking at them like, wait, I thought we were the same team. I'm not coming after you. Right. Why are we coming after each other, period? Like, why can't Cleveland look at division and say, you know what? It ends with us. No more division. Right. It's only addition and multiplication at this point. Okay. We are going to be additive to each other's cause, additive to our branding, and we're going to build something special for Cleveland. But once again, old habits die hard, and I'm just seeing old habits just being still persisting, and I'm just not thrilled when I see that.
So Digital C is a nonprofit, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So your donations come from, the funding comes from?
Private, philanthropic, corporate. It's a community of supporters who believe in this mission and can see that when one family is unconnected or underconnected, we all are going to feel its impacts. That family or the group of families in Huff, in Glenville, in Fairfax, in St. Clair Superior, wherever you want to look throughout Cleveland, that's one less family buying your online product. That's one less family who's watching your digital footprint. That's one less. We're all interconnected. So it's like, guys, same team. We are all working together. And if we're not, then we're all falling apart.
Exactly. I know we spend a lot of time talking about how many, so you have 4,000 people that have Digital C, correct?
So we're closing in on 4,000 households right now.
Okay. What areas do you serve in the city of Cleveland?
Right now, it's pretty much all of the east side. I mean, parts of Ward 1 we're still building out. But, if you're, again, your Glenvilles, your Huffs, your St. Clair Superior, your Fairfax, I mean, we cover a lot of the east side. On the west side, we're expanding our service, but we already cover Clark Fulton. We're going to cover Ohio City. We cover up to Detroit Shoreway. We're touching, I believe, West Park at this point. But again, by June, this entire city's covered.
Okay. So every base of the city, every resident from east side or west side, by June of 2025,
That's
this
correct.
year,
That's
will
correct.
be covered.
You got it.
Okay. So over 400,000 residents, pretty much. That's wonderful. So you want to get going. And who are your supporters in the tech world that support Digital C?
So Microsoft, big shout out to them. They've been a long-standing supporter of ours. Toronto Wireless, CTI Connect, Wincom, Wave. I could go on and on for real. I mean, this is the same way how Silicon Valley was. Mm-hmm. And shout out also to Meta, Facebook. They're a support of ours. They've invested. That Federal Communications. I could go on and on to that. But how Silicon Valley was set up at one point when all these companies were essentially working together to ensure that they would be able to grow a foundational tech ecosystem. That's who's investing in us here. And so it's like we are now making Cuyahoga Valley what Silicon Valley was. So the opposition, again, is confusing because it's like, see the growth. But yeah, I could go on and on. I mean, virtually every corporate tech partner that you all can think of.
You just said Microsoft. I think that ends it for me.
Yeah.
After that, it's like Microsoft, and then this. Oh,
yeah.
So,
and it's not like, a little bit. Microsoft is investing serious capital, intellectual capital, resources because they believe in this as a company.
Exactly. I got the first question of Ebony Spano. Hey, Ebony, what's going on? The question she asked, what are you going to do about reaching out to the community to get them to sign up for the event? What is your goal?
Well, now that we have the ability to knock on doors, the fact that last month in February, we had over 400 people connected to our internet. We installed over 400. The fact that this month already we have 375 households already scheduled, we'll probably have 600 by the end of this month. I mean, the outreach has been phenomenal because we do have a network of community partners already. So the community development corporations have been really helpful, Famicos Foundations, Burton Bell Carr. In addition to that, the school districts on our board, so their family engagement office has been supporting us. Cleveland Public Libraries on our board, so we already work with the libraries. I mean, we have the community partnerships. In addition to that, we have an internal outreach and education team that is going out to every community function you can think of, building those relationships, going to community festivals. I mean, we have a very robust outreach strategy.
So you pretty much, did you do any, I don't hear a little bit about did you do any grassroots marketing?
So we are now doing that. Last year we couldn't because, again, we only had pockets of our network set up. So it's like we didn't have like Huff. We had this corner here, some over here. So it's like now that we have larger swaths of people, it'll help us more. I think that what's been really helpful too, specifically with our Burton Bell cars, is like WOVU has been a really big supporter of ours. And so getting the word out that way has been helpful. We are going to start putting up our billboards. But again, the biggest thing that's helped the most has been us just door knocking. Door knocking has been single-handedly volunteers. I mean, I've been door knocking with people, but like volunteers and people just knocking on doors with us has been our most effective strategy.
Okay. I know you're a nonprofit, but any paid advertising on networks? Were you interested in doing something like that, or like saying we're Digital C? Because we've heard of you. But we haven't heard of you because, everybody goes to the popular ones.
That's right.
And the thing about it is there are some people who don't have any DEI initiatives. That here's the one problem. Where's the alternative? If I'm going to boycott this person because they don't have DEI initiatives, what is the alternative? How can Digital C be that alternative? Just say T-Mobile get on my nerves, but I want to switch over, or Spectrum. I don't want to do their internet anymore, but I got these streaming services. Can I switch over to Digital C, even though I might live in an apartment or whatever? But how does that happen?
So a lot of the people who are picking Digital C, I should say not all of them, but a lot of them actively are coming from those companies because they were so frustrated. One of the things that I actually love about what we do, we don't have a 1-800 number here. We have a 216 number, 216-777-3859. That number routes you to our call center. So our call center isn't in India. It's not overseas where now it's like you can't understand what someone's saying.
Right.
It's routed here. And it's actually routed to the Cleveland Site Center. So we took people who had visual impairments in the neighborhoods.
Disabilities.
And they are now picking up the phone, and they're the ones who you're talking to. So it's now the dollar is staying in our community. We're uplifting people, we're giving people opportunity. And it's like, those are the stories that I'm like, man, we got to start telling that. And so when people are switching, they're like, hey, man, I'm now, Digital C is almost, it's a digital revolution. This is an act of, in many cases, rebellion or correcting a system that did not prioritize us. So by supporting Digital C, you're now supporting an economy that is growing because people are now coming in here. You have Chef Stacy Stoudemire right over there.
I saw Stacy. I shout out to Stacy Stoudemire. I got to do that. You know, everybody love her.
So the Midtown Tech Hive, this is our headquarters. So you now have residents coming in here. They show up here. They're like, oh, wow, I can get some food from here. I'm dropping my money off here. The money is staying and circulating in the community because now the person who's picking up the phone is literally up the road. They're in Ward 7. Right. So it's like all this stuff is compiled and comprised within Cleveland. And so it's like Cleveland is now doing what Cleveland always knew it could do for itself.
Mm-hmm. So how many employees you have for Digital C?
We have about 37, 38.
Okay, so you're saying that you took people from, and Psych Center kid, I ain't gonna lie, back when I was younger.
Really?
Yeah. I have visual impairments.
Colorblind, so. Yeah.
Not colorblind, but nystagmus. It's a movement of the eyes. It's like, had it all my life. Mm-hmm. So pretty much you don't discriminate against people with disabilities, correct?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We look at the digital divide, and it's like anywhere where there's a digital divide, we have an obligation. It is in our mission to address and to eradicate. And so for anyone who has any type of disability or any type of impairment, those are the ones that we see out the gate who usually struggle the most with the digital divide. In addition to that, people have economic conditions who are like, look, man, I can't. Those are the ones. We had a gentleman who was a justice-involved person. He just got home recently, and he didn't have the internet. He's been away for so long. He came back. He said, "Man, what's this?" Right. He didn't know. But it's like those are the people that we're serving. That's who we're working with. We didn't go to Bracknell. We didn't go to Lakewood. We went to the hardest parts of Cleveland first and said, you know what? That's what we're going to serve because someone has to do it.
So my question is that now as far as jobs, careers, and we've seen a lot of people because of DEI and the Doge effect have been laid off. What are the qualifications for somebody to work in your work? Do you hire anybody that was formerly incarcerated, felons, things of that nature? We got a felon in office. Just be honest with ourselves. At this point, right now, at this point, you know, if he can get hired,
man, look,
right.
You know, we've hired people with records. Like the biggest thing I look for, my team knows this. You almost pull them randomly. Mentality, care. How about that? If you care and you're that dog and you want to learn, we can work with you. Now, and in some cases, you got to come in with something. I don't even look at the degrees anymore. I don't even care about that stuff anymore.
Okay.
I got my degrees, but for real, I'm not even saying you got to have them. What I need people to have more than anything, do you have the experience? If you don't have the experience, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to do the fundamentals? Are you willing to show up on time? Are you willing to keep your word? Are you willing to go above and beyond? Like, those are the things that I'm looking for, especially as we all know. I don't know what happened to the workforce after the pandemic, but you see maybe if you go to a grocery store, how some of them cashiers might be.
Yeah.
You see if you go to a fast food place, how sometimes they don't really care as much.
Right.
Like, we need people here who are on fire for bridging this digital divide, who see this as the biggest impediment to Cleveland's success, so they're willing to give it their all. So we're looking for sacrificial people who are willing to sacrifice their time, their energy, their effort, their intellect, and building up this movement to bridging the digital divide. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
All the other stuff we can invest in, we can teach you.
Then what about leadership? I mean, because certain leadership needs certain degrees, certain leadership, this, that. What are you looking for as far as people leading, helping you with Digital C in the future?
One, I mean, humility. Like, the greatest leaders, at some point, they had to be the greatest followers, too. Like, you had to serve first before you led. Like, and that's for me, too. And I get it because I'm young. People are like, man, where did he? Oh, no. I had to learn that stuff. And it's like there's a humility that comes with it. Like, are you coachable? Or is it me, I? It's like, no. Are you a team player? Yes, on some cases, we do look for certifications or just, again, experience. One of the smartest men that I've ever worked with, his name was Warren. Warren was, I can see the work that you put in. I can't believe I'm about to say this because it's my dad coming out, but the Bible says, study to show thyself approved. So if you study your practice, then you're approved by me.
Church. But
I know.
I understand like that. Church. But the thing is that we have people who feel downtrodden, especially with losing opportunities in this city, and seeing the jobs leave or people leave because there's not enough work here. There's certain aspects. What do you say to those people? I mean, are you like this? Come to Digital C?
I mean, if after the city took $1 million from us. I mean, before that, there was more opportunity. At this point, we're razor thin now. But I'll also say at the same time that we're committed to not only getting what we said that we were going to get done in Bridging's Digital Divide, but also creating a hub of opportunity. So the more work that we're doing here in Digital C, we're showing what Cleveland can do. So now if they took a chance on us and we delivered on our promise, now they can take a chance on someone else. We're all connected here. And so it's like I don't benefit, nor does Digital C benefit by people being underemployed and underutilized in Cleveland. Because now what you're doing is you're creating idle people. And when people are idle, bad things happen.
Exactly.
So it's like
I understand that. Fully. So like the thing about it is like, can you get more community partners? Do you need more community partners to spread the word of Digital C?
I would say it's a yes and. I mean, there's never going to be enough community partners. I'm never going to say, oh well, we have 10. That's it. Now we might only have funding for 10 at the time, but as more dollars hopefully come in, it allows us to build more relationships that aren't just goodwill, that are actually like I'm paying you for your services for which you are valuable in that. But again, that is predicated on investment. And when we have disinvestment, i.e. someone taking $1 million from us, that makes it harder for us to do that type of work.
To hire people.
That's right.
So pretty much what this is. So you're not. So are you hiring right now, or are you freezing right now?
We're not hiring nearly as aggressive as we were. I think that what we have now, again, with having the influx of customers that have been coming in, great. Now, I will say the job where people will always be in the hopper that we're willing to tap at any point, that's the installs. So people are willing to, one, can you climb a 40-foot ladder?
Right.
We need people who can climb ladders. So if you know a roofer, we need those people.
Okay.
If you know someone who's just like, you know what, and a lot of us have them in our family, that one uncle
that know everything, they can fix everything. I can fix this.
Man.
I can fix this with or you call them Uncle MacGyver. Remember this?
Yeah.
I can fix this with aluminum foil and chewing gum.
Yeah, and all I need is a Snapple and I'm good.
Right.
Like those are the people that like, no, we always want them because those are the people that when it comes down to it, when it's cold outside, we'll give them the gear. They'll show up. They do what they need to do. They're nice with the residents. They're smiling. They're happy. Like, I mean, we need that. We'll always need that. That position isn't necessarily a high turnover one, but as we scale, this year we had to connect 4,700 households. Next year, I believe it's 5,600. The following year, I think it's 7,500. And so our company right now is built to connect to 4,700. So at some point when we go over that, we're going to need more people.
Exactly.
So it's like the install and the field team, that's where there's opportunity.
So
and we pay prevailing wages at that too. So if you get time and a half at that prevailing wage, you're making some money out of this.
Understandable. So are they working for Digital C or they're independent contractors?
So we do both. So the ones that I'm describing, that's your work for Digital C. However, we do contract locally here too.
Okay.
So if someone, I mean,
If somebody has a roofing company and they said, "Well, I want to work with you," that's what you'll accept.
Potentially.
Okay.
So the reason why I'm saying potentially, like they also they need to know what they're doing because it's almost like subbing into a game. When, for example, when LeBron came back
to Cleveland
and we had Andrew Wiggins, LeBron was like, "Look, Wiggins, I see you, but I need to win now.
Right.
So we're trading you, bringing in Kevin."
Right.
And so I also say to the people like, "Look, we want to work with you, but you got to also know what you're doing because it's like it's too pivotal as we've seen." We exceeded 2 of the 3. We're 20% short in that other metric, and they still took $1 million from us. The stakes are so high. Where it's like, look, it's championship or bust for us right now.
Right.
So we don't have the time to scrimmage with people. It's like, look, we sub you in, you're putting up 20.
Right.
That's what we need right
Pretty
now.
much. Like DeAndre Hunter. I'm not even going to right. So, with all the hoops, jumping through hoops with fire attached to them, how are you able to push forward? How is Digital C able to push forward? And what keeps you going?
Man, that's a phenomenal question. Man, I believe. One, this is God. When I tell you, when I was battling at that table with city council and all that stuff, I asked God, I said, "Man, God, what? I'm not finding my words. Like, why can't I say what I want to say? Like, why does it feel so restrictive?" And God told me to read the book of Joshua. Read the book of Joshua, because like that's your namesake. You already given this. Read it. And I had to accept that this digital divide is my Jericho. And I got to walk around this city 7 times for these walls to fall down. And so the first time Joshua did that and had them playing them trumpets, those walls didn't fall.
Right.
Second time they did. By the 5th time, they're probably looking at him like, "Hey, man, look, you sure God said 7? Yeah, I mean, you sure? Because we're walking. You sure?" But that 7th time, when those walls came crumbling down, that the walls represent obviously what we're going through, but they also represent God's promise. And we have to be obedient to that. And so for me, when I look at this digital divide, yeah, I get frustrated. Oh my gosh, I get frustrated. January, I was so mad, but at the same time, like, this is purpose-driven work. And what God commanded, no man can put asunder. And so, like, I had to realize that part and say, you know, I got to be faithful and just see this through and not step left, not step right, but stay in the path. And the path is bridging this digital divide.
Because there's always naysayers, doubters, and people that, you know, so it's just so used to the old that you cannot accept anything new. But you've been around for 10 years. Digital C has. Your background, you went to an HBCU, obviously.
That's right.
Which one?
Howard University.
Okay. And were you interested in tech before you went to college, or was it something you picked up?
No, I absolutely was interested, but once again, didn't have the exposure to know. However, my father did something, and my mother, that was just phenomenal for me and my siblings. We had a Windows 95 computer growing up, and I just remember getting lost in that computer, playing around in the control panel, playing around in the terminal. There was a computer game that we would play that I didn't even know was teaching me coding fundamentals. Didn't even know it.
Really?
And so all tech came easy to me, and I was just so infatuated with it that I was that kid who would take old cell phones and wipe them and then add firmware and update them, play around with the settings. Like, I was that kid. So like, I did that stuff I didn't know that was actually a skill. I was just playing around. And that's what I want to create with some of these kids in Cleveland, where I'm like, man, look, let's not make it work for you. Because when you got to do homework, you don't really want to do it. But let's make it fun, and now you have this ingenuity where you're just curiously playing around with stuff. I didn't study network engineering in school. When I got to Howard, so undergrad, I went to Notre Dame College, the now closed Notre Dame College.
Here in Cleveland? Oh, wow, yeah.
But Howard University for grad school, and I studied technology policy there. And when I studied technology policy, that's when it clicked, where I said, man, this is interesting. Seeing the implications on technology and society, that's where I'm like, man, this is real cool. And so then after that, just did a number of different fellowships. I was a digital innovation fellow at the Cleveland Foundation, Cleveland Foundation Public Service Fellow, working on President Obama's Connect Home Initiative in public housing at CMHA. Director of Digital Equity and Inclusion, the first one in American history at the city of Detroit, appointed there to building out their technology footprint, appointed as the Digital Inclusion Policy Fellow at the University of Michigan. Again, these are all things that were stacked up that were like me building this foundation to be able to do the work now and understand it in such an intricate and nuanced way.
So are you from Cleveland or Detroit?
Painesville,
Ohio?
That's right.
Okay. And what made you go to how did you get to Detroit from Painesville? Just ask.
So I grew up in Painesville because I didn't want to say I was from Cleveland. Then you asked me what high school I went to. So that's why I said, no, I'm from Painesville, went to Twinsburg for high school, and then did all the other stuff. But when I was working at the Cleveland Foundation, we had built out this ecosystem model for investment in Cleveland to bridge Cleveland's digital divide. And while doing that work, I was frustrated with Cleveland. I was so frustrated because I felt like I wasn't given an opportunity to lead anything. I felt like I had all this, and they're only giving me this. So I was so angry that I said, you know what? The next opportunity out here, I'm taking. And so Detroit came up, and there's an opportunity. I applied for it, and I said, no, I don't want to do it. The CIO noticed, the Chief Information Officer at the city noticed and called me. And I was like, I'm not interested. She's like, why not? I'm like, I just don't want to leave Cleveland. And she said, okay. She called me about 4 times. I said, no. Then the last time she said, what is it going to take for us to get there? I said, all right, let me pick my title and let me give me the jurisdiction to do what I want to do. Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to come in. If you give me that, then I'll move there. She said, it's done. So I was like, oh. So then I left Cleveland and I went to Detroit, and they gave me, they delivered on their promise and allowed us to build a movement out there that raised more than $50 million worth of investment in digital equity. And Cleveland was then watching me do that stuff. I said, now we could have did this here. And so now that I'm back, sometimes it feels like an ex that I went back to. I said, man, look, we said we weren't going to do this.
Right.
We said we were going to support each other. We said we are going to love each other. Now, why are you doing all this?
Why are you messing with me? I could have stayed in Detroit. I mean, so the reason you came back here was to build that, to stop this digital red line.
That's right.
And
because it's like, again, back to the LeBron side, it's cool that we went off to Miami and won some championships. But you got to win back one back at home. This is now my man. I feel like every day is the playoffs because it's like, oh my gosh, and we had a blowout loss in January that I'm still mad at. I'm like, ooh, I hate that.
So, have you talked to? And the thing about it is, like, before your documentary, there was another town hall there at the same place. On 79th. There was the Congresswoman Chantel Brown. Have you had a chance to talk to her about your vision or her office about her vision?
She's actually a really big supporter of ours. Before the presidential administration limited the earmarks, we did secure an earmark from her office, tune of $3 million from her office, specifically aimed at connecting Mount Pleasant to the internet and building out more of Ward 4. So like her money, her resources, her vision, her friendship and insight is absolutely fueling this network as well.
Okay. And when was that? When did she do that?
So we began we're actually still allocating from that earmark.
Really?
To this day.
Okay.
So that came to fruition last year. And so she's been, again, real active with us and a great supporter of ours.
Chantel is a friend of yours, pretty much. What about City Council President Blaine Griffin and Mayor Justin Bibb? Have they been more supportive, or
they've been supportive? And
it sounds like they could be more. I'm just
look,
you're like, they ain't been supportive. Like, I like to stir up controversy. Don't mind me.
No, but I think it's real. I mean, I think that they are supportive in the ways that I think that they can be. I don't see everything I don't see where they might be tied up on stuff. I'm just like everybody else. Imagine us at a food line. Well, why isn't my food like this? It's like, man, you don't see what's happening in this kitchen behind here. You just see what's in front of you. And so for me, I think that's how I look at this, where I think they have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of people that they have to balance. And to be very clear, the other internet providers have a lot of money. They got a lot of influence.
Right.
And I had to commend the city leadership at times for not caving to that influence and trying to keep this fair for all parties. And so I think they have
an open market for any competition. I mean,
I think they have a tough job of just balancing things, because they can't just outright and be like, we endorse Digital C wholeheartedly over everybody else. It's like, no, like they also provide essential city services off of these networks too. So it's like, if your public safety is running off of maybe AT&T's FirstNet,
right,
you can't just then go all in on Digital C. Well, if we don't offer that. So it's like, they got to find a way to coexist. But at the end of the day, I would say to everybody, and this is my message to Cleveland, get your butts up and support Digital C. Don't just support us and on one-on-ones. And, well, I like them, and, Josh is cool. No. Be a upright, outstanding supporter and just stand up and support us. Because a headline from a Cleveland.com that I already know isn't going to write positive articles about black men. They don't. If I know that you're not going to do that, then I'm not even going to look to them to do that anymore. What I need now is for the black people and the brown people and literally every shade in between, the real Clevelanders, to support a real Cleveland movement, and not looking at what someone in Brunswick has to say about our service. You don't live here. You don't understand the intricacies here. You're just talking from the side of what you're being fed to say. But for the real people who actually live here, who want to see change, let's do something together. Let's build this digital revolution, and let's deliver on a promise to ending this digital divide for good in Cleveland.
I see that there's a lot of frustration that you're letting off.
Man, because I was just...
Let it out. We're brothers. We're talking here, brother.
Oh, my God.
Let it, go ahead, let it out. You're
the intensity is just...
I understand that. So, the frustration that you had. Now, my thing is, how do you compete in the future with the big boys? You said with the AT&Ts, the Spectrums, the T-Mobiles, even, what else would Digital C provide? Because the biggest thing now is like, we got these cell phones running around. What else would Digital C provide besides the internet?
So I think there's a few things even to say to the big boys. One might call them Goliaths, but we all know how that story ended.
Okay. You talking about David and Goliath?
Absolutely. So we know how that story already ended. So it's like, well, and I would say when it comes to services, I don't want to give them any competitive advantage of understanding where we're going, because I know what they like to do too. And so what I will say, though, is what we've been researching, what we've been implementing, we're going to continuously develop and continuously evolve. At one point, Digital C was just a topic on a napkin. And now we are, again, almost 4,000 households connected.
Okay.
So we're figuring this stuff out at a rapid pace. To be clear, these companies in some cases have a 100-year head start on us. So imagine you had 100 years.
Right.
And then what we did in 10 years, it took you 100 years to do.
Exactly. So we got to wrap this up a little bit. Now, I don't want to take too much of your time.
Right,
we could be here for hours. If there's one thing about Digital C's hard work that you want the city of Cleveland and pretty much the whole world to know, what would it be?
I want them to know that despite maybe my frustration that's being vented honestly and candidly, that we care. We care more than people might even realize. We care more than I might even be communicating. We care. Not I. We. The team here is phenomenal. We're hiring from the community. Literally over half the team lives in the city of Cleveland.
Okay.
Like myself included. 100% of us live in Northeast Ohio. We care. We are committed to this city. And if you want to find ways to support us, you can go to www.digitalc.org, or you can call our again, very, very local number, 216-777-3859, or you can pull up to the Midtown Tech Hive on 69th and Euclid, whether it's stop in to see Chef Stacy Stoudemire or just kick it with us. This is a co-working space. We open up this space for use from entrepreneurs, for community events. I mean, we're out here, and we would love your support.
Repeat that number for the people in the back that ain't here.
216-777-3859.
So
someone might even play that number as a lotto. That's a
somebody here would do it. I'll probably just upload everything. So most digital platforms would probably do it, and everything else. So it is I appreciate this. And before we go, oh goodness. So what? Yeah, one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What personally? What is the one thing that people don't know about Joshua Edmonds?
Oh man, I don't know about me personally.
Yes. The one thing that drives you to do this.
Oh, I'm glad you added that other context. Thank you. I was about to be like, ladies, I'm single. No.
But wait a minute, there's some women on.
Hold on.
You kidding or you playing or you for real?
I mean, I'm not married.
Okay,
but,
okay.
But no, I would say the thing that drives more than anything, I'm insanely competitive with what I'm competitive about.
Mm-hmm.
We could be playing basketball, and I wouldn't care if I lost. Man, we could be doing whatever. When it comes to this is the one line where like, nah, we don't compromise this. We don't lose. And so like there's a drive in me that anywhere else I might not. This is where I got that dog for real, where I'm like, no, we are winning by any means necessary. We're winning this.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much, Joshua.
Thank you for the time.
No problem. And we will send this over. Again, this is Larry H. Gardner special Midtown interview at Midtown Tech Hive for Digital C CEO, Mr. Joshua Edmonds. Check out Digital C. Stop here and see Chef Stacy Stoudemire. Y'all love her. Y'all know her. Stop by and see my boy Joshua. Uplift, donate, do whatever you got to do. Support. Call in if you want service. Make sure you do that so you can have more customers. You'll be paying those high internet bills and everything else like that. So I love you guys. If nobody checks with the 11 today, I do. I am going to send this over. You're going to hear more of this. Replay, repeat, YouTube, voiceitradio.com, WNRV, Nerve DJs, 108.1.com, everywhere where I am at. Headlines and headaches, everywhere. So I will see you guys in a minute. Please stay warm, and I will talk to you later. Peace, love, and hair grease. This is Larry H. Gardner.